edition of our show, Money Means Business, in which we bring you the developments of each week, every week in Egypt on the local scene, of course interrelated with the international arena. And tonight we'll be talking about the dollar. What about the dollar? What about raising rate of the dollar? The decisions of the central bank taken. How does that involve? Does that affect actually the normal citizen? How does that affect our industry? How does that affect trade, investments in Egypt here? And this and more we'll find out in this edition actually with our own guests. And we have with us Professor Ala Shazli, Professor of Economics. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you.
And we do have Dr. Bess Zori, economic expert. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And we'll start our talk after the short break, after which we'll be back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away.
Egypt has uniquely undergone two revolutions in less than 3 years for better living and the rule of democracy. Egypt remains, after all, as an attractive investment destination despite the difficulties it faced. Ahead of the 2011 revolution, the Egyptian economy was performing well, as confirmed by all KPIs.
Very confident about the Egyptian market. The main factors or the main pillars of the Egyptian economy are still here, and they're not going anywhere.
Egypt is a good place to invest, first of all, because it's a big market. It's a big local market. It's a good geographical location. You have good people, and the costs are competitive. So it's a great place. It was, it is, and it will be a great place to invest.
Again, welcome back to Money Means Business. I'm Nabi Nazim, and our guests are Dr. Bess Zori, economic expert. Welcome again, sir, with us.
Thank you.
Professor Ala Shazli, Professor of Economics. Thank you, sir, again for being with us. And I really am at a loss how to start. The dollar, the rate, of the dollar right now, and the decisions of the central bank has taken. How does that affect the normal citizen? How does that affect our industry? How does it affect trade? All interrelated, but then, well, we've seen changes financially, and it's just so complicated. So why don't we start with the story of the dollar here?
Well, the foreign exchange problem in Egypt stems from the imbalance of trade that we have. There is a persistent deficit in the trade balance that has been going on since the 1960s, and there is no real effort to improve trade balance behavior in Egypt. More or less it was you will see stop and go policies. Sometimes subsequent governments take very logical decisions to improve industrial production, the export sector and so on. But for one reason or the other, we don't see continuation of these efforts. And then we find setback in the trade balance again, to the extent that we now export the amount of nearly around $25 billion of export of goods. And our imports is in the range of $60 billion. So there's a huge gap. Before, periods before the current one, the services sector could bridge some of this gap. So through tourism, for example, you can eliminate part of this deficit, but not totally, of the trade balance. Sometimes through foreign direct investment, especially in the oil and gas sector, we were able to attract some reasonable level of investments, although not very large and very large amounts. However, it also helped to finance this deficit. Now, after the political instability that Egypt passed through starting from 2011, the foreign direct investment went down, the tourism revenues went down, and so the services sector is not able to cover part of the deficit in the trade balance. At the same time, the trade balance didn't change structurally. So we have persistent structural problem in the trade balance. As I said, this has to do with industry, production, agriculture, of course, development. It was not good enough for the country to improve the balance of trade. The outcome of all this is a deterioration in the Egyptian pound exchange rate, the international value of the pound vis-a-vis the major foreign currencies. Then the central bank, because it manages monetary policy and foreign exchange market, take sensible decisions every now and then to cure any distortions in the exchange rate and so on. But the problem remains that we don't export enough and we import too much, and there is no other foreign resources to cover this deficit. So we keep on seeing the exchange rate deteriorating, the Egyptian pound exchange rate deteriorating, until the central bank had to correct it a large amount. First, to stop the what you can call illegal transactions outside the banking system, which causes more pressure on the Egyptian pound, sometimes over-exaggerated, and makes some of traders in foreign exchange exploit the mispricing of the pound for however temporarily it may be, until the central bank interfere in the market again and adjusts the exchange rate to make it more realistic. So the government or the central bank had to stop this, and they took decisions on this aspect. Also, you have to take decision to control or limit imports, since your export size it's still a modest size of exports. So you had to control indirectly so far the imports, partly through making it more expensive, and partly by saying that these are the specifications for the imports to be allowed in the country, in our territories. All countries do that. The EU does it, the United States, China, all countries in the world have less specifications. So Egypt also said that we have to be stricter on the specifications. These are indirect measures to control imports. The problem remains that your export side is very much limited, and this is causing I see the roots of the balance of payment and the exchange rate of the Egyptian pound problem.
Yes. How do you comment on that? How do you see the whole story?
Well, in the whole world, the central bank controls the market, but in Egypt it is the opposite. The market controls the central bank, which is wrong. As Doctor said, the whole Egypt is black market. Normally, in other countries, if you transfer any amount of money in other currency, it comes in with the currency of the country himself. In Egypt, it's the opposite. We have a lot of private account in dollars in Egypt. First of all, if the central bank would like to control the exchange in Egypt, they must not allow everyone to have a dollar account of a foreign account in the bank. Why? Because I experienced it myself with other people. When the dollar went down, they going to collect from the market and put it dollar in the bank. When the dollar price is getting higher, they take it from the bank and they sell it in the black market to collect more money. And this affects the foreign currency in Egypt, which is absolutely wrong. So my advice is, first of all, allow only the company who work in import or export to have a dollar account or a foreign account in Egypt, and close all the private foreign account in Egypt. With this, you can save a lot. Any transaction coming from abroad for private people, you just have to change it absolutely right away in Egyptian pound. So you can higher the value of the Egyptian pound. That's the second thing. The third thing is the exchange offices outside of the bank.
Yes.
Until now, since the doctor said the year 60, they have a problem with exchange. They cannot control it. Or they are not willing to do it, or they have benefit of it. I don't know. I ask myself many questions why it can't be solved in Egypt, which is very easy to do it. In any other countries, if you went abroad and you want to change some money, you get the dollar rate from the bank plus the commission of the exchange office, which is changed for you. So if we do this in Egypt, at the time that the bank is open, they can change, while also not closed, they can also change, but they have to pay commission for the people who are working there to collect them salary, for example. So you can open a lot of market for this. Second, we talk about the import and export. I say it before and I will say it again. We import 70% of our needs and food from abroad. If we can start to make it 50%, then we win 20%. That will make a lot of difference in saving a lot of foreign currency for the country. I'm not saying make it 30%, I'm just saying start with 50%. At least you save 20%. People think that by raising the dollar price, they will decrease the import. They can forget about it. Because the one who has money, he will import anything he wants, as it was before. If the dollar even get 15 pounds, they will do it. They talk about tourism. They said no tourism in the country, and therefore we are shorted of foreign exchange. The tourism, it's important, but it's a weak point to depend on it, as I said before.
Right now.
Right now, in any country, if something happens, the tourism will stop. So we don't have to take the tourism as a message for, it is an income for the foreign currency. But we don't have to talk about it day and night because there is no tourism, we don't have for exchange. No.
But not in any country. Like, look at what happened here, example, and what happened in Turkey.
Everywhere.
Some attempts, but then Belgium, with that, decrease the tourists going, or France, major attacks happened there. Yet, they talk about our countries were just, let's say, like the tourism decreases there. Would that affect their own currency?
Sure. No, they will not affect their own currency, and it will not affect their income. Everything will be the same. We are the only country who get affected with these things.
Why?
Because we did not prepare it well as they did. And we have to learn from them. I mean, we are a great country, as I said, and as I said in the beginning, Egypt is not a poor country. Egypt is a rich country, but we don't know how to manage it.
Okay.
We don't know how to manage it. But we are not poor, absolutely not. We have a lot to offer, and we have a lot to produce. But you have to go after, you have to dig after. I gave you an example about the raising of the dollar price, which has really upset me. We have a lot of old people in Egypt, they need medicine from abroad. By raising the dollar, you will not...
young, actually, so many do have certain diseases that we need.
I mean, the diabetic people, what we have,
Yes.
and by raising the price, it is already realized in the market. You will not get all the medicine you need in the pharmacy. It is starting now. They will stop it because it's getting higher. They cannot afford it. So,
is there any Egyptian alternative? Regarding
I think they are not. They will not take it easy. I think they are busy with it. They are busy to replace that. But will the people satisfied about the replacement of the Egyptian medicine, or they will always have the problem? No, would like to buy the medicine that comes from abroad because it's more effective than the Egyptian medicine. And this is the point which we have to work on it. So, dollar in Egypt of any other currency, it's in the moment the weapon what other organization used to defeat our economy, and we have to be aware of that. So for everyone,
let's say internal organizations or external organizations, or both.
Well, it's difficult to talk about it in the media. I said in the beginning it's an international organization, and the second will help the intern organization, and it is not a secret anymore. Few months ago was about 7.2 million Egyptian pound was pumped in the market to collect the dollar. And therefore, they collect all the foreign exchange from the market. And therefore, the price comes higher because what you ask for is not available. And therefore, the price is getting higher and higher and higher. And this is an organization who defeat the Egyptian economy. And we have to be aware of that. I think the government know about that.
Yeah. We'll be talking more about that, but we have a report right now. Stay tuned to us. Turn it over.
Fitch Ratings Incorporation said decisions by the Central Bank of Egypt CBE last week, including a devaluation of the Egyptian pound, are broadly credit positive, but the country faces a difficult year of slower growth, high inflation and large financing needs. On March 14th, the central bank devalued the currency by 14% against the US dollar and said it would adopt a more flexible exchange rate policy. The CBE supported the devaluation by auctioning $1.5 billion to help importers 2 days later and hiked its main policy rates on Thursday by 150 basis points. These decisions reflect the pressures on the currency from a widening current account deficit, insufficient capital inflows, and low levels of international reserves, which are less than 3 months of current external payments. The auction on Monday devalued the currency from 7.73 to $1 to 8.85 to $1, while the auction on Wednesday was at the slightly stronger rate of 8.78. This is more than a minor adjustment and takes the rate closer to the parallel market rate, which was weakened to above 9.5 to $1. Forecast builds in further exchange rate weakness to above 9 Egyptian pounds to $1 by the end of 2016, given the challenges the economy still faces. Expectations of devaluation have also restrained foreign inflows into Egypt. The CBA hopes that its decision last week will bolster confidence in the currency and nudge portfolio investors off the sidelines. Two initiatives in the banking sector may help. Two state-owned banks are now offering foreign investors options on treasury bills with exchange rate hedging. These banks are also offering 15% on 3-year certificates of deposit for domestic investors who buy them within 60 days in exchange for foreign currency. However, inflation is likely to rise again, and the weaker exchange rate will make imports more expensive. If plans to implement VAT come to fruition this year, that could also put upwards pressure on prices. In this context, it was no surprise that the central bank raised interest rates following the depreciation to try to anchor inflation expectations.
Welcome back again to Money News Business, and Dr. Ali, any comments on that?
Yes, the central bank is doing all what it can to correct for the distortions in the exchange rate to reflect supply and demand in the market. Also, the banks are doing their best to make the transactions go through the legal channels, through the banking system, for example, through this issuance of the 3 years certificate of deposits at a high rate of 15% for those who are willing to exchange their foreign currency savings into Egyptian pound. So this is attractive or appealing to some of the savers. So the banks are able to collect some of the foreign exchange revenues through the legal channels instead of being leaked outside through the parallel market. Also, Egypt raised through raising some foreign exchange through the bond issues of 1, 3, and 5 years maturity, also at attractive interest rate by international levels. These are efforts for Egyptians working abroad. So we are trying to collect more of these resources that can be available to the Egyptian economy through the banking system, and all this will be directed to developmental projects, investment projects. That's fine, but all these efforts are not enough. This can temporarily help you for some time, but what we need to concentrate on more, of course, is development of the commodity sectors in Egypt, the production in commodity sectors, and make it more competitive. Even if you don't have to export, at least you can compete in your land. So to limit your imports by having a near equivalent product that will limit our bill of imports. This is important, and it will not, of course, in that case, you will not be confronted with criticism from international organizations that there are international trade laws that you have signed or regulations that you are breaking. No, I'm developing my own industry, my agricultural sector, and so on, and make it more competitive in the domestic market and able to export abroad if we are able. That's fine, but at least we can compete inside our borders, within our borders. I mean. So in this context, the Central Bank of Egypt also had the proposal for small and medium enterprises, because these sectors can have innovative ideas, entrepreneurial skills that just needs financing. So the bank are providing them with the investable funds that they may need, either for export purposes or at least for for the local market production to satisfy domestic demand. So these are efforts also, but it will take time to improve our trade balance, our production sector.
Of course.
But it will take time. It will not happen over time.
How long would the people be able to take that?
This is the point. That's what that's why I'm saying. What is the central bank and the banking sector are doing looks fine, as long as it's for temporary
fixing or something like this.
Temporary imbalances and trying to fix what's going wrong temporarily.
Yes.
But for longer term policy, it needs more effort, or more into the productive sectors of the economy. The banks are financing, as I said, and they have initiatives for small and medium enterprises. But it will take time to reap the benefits of these financing efforts and so on. It might take, if you are very optimistic, 1 year, if the production cycle is short for small enterprises. Might take 3, 5 or more years for larger enterprises, depending on the product being produced and the technology that they have to invest in and so on, and the knowledge, accumulation of knowledge by the workers and so on. It will take time and effort.
But we are not the only country who import from abroad. We are not the only country who work with foreign exchange. We're talking about a huge country. We talk about a country with 90 million people registered, and it might be another 10 million who is not registered. We talk about a country who use a lot of commodity of food and a lot of things. But I cannot find a solution for why all the foreign exchange, what comes from abroad, because we have a lot of Egyptian working abroad, and transferring money for them parents, transferring money for projects they bought, transferring money to build a house. I don't see a balance for what comes in, what goes out. I see the central bank is bumping $2 million monthly. Until when? Until when? I need an internal production. I'm not asking them to print dollars, but I'm asking them to make a balance between what comes in and what goes out. I don't see that. I don't see that. Whom we have to blame, whom we have to give an advice, whom we have to say this is right and this is wrong. We are not here to judge, but we talk about. Second, I see that the majority of the Egyptian people interfering with the central bank decision. If the central bank director took a decision for the management, everybody talking about it. Why don't we respect our high level for taking decision? He might, I don't think he took the decision alone. I think before he took the decision, he talked with other people also in the same level.
Definitely.
And they gave permission for that. Yes. So why should we make ourselves busy with this? We have to work and not only talk. And this is what really bothered me the last time. People talking only about, you said, it needs time. Did we inform them before that we are busy with that and it will take 1 year or it will take 2 years to get a result from it? There is nothing.
Yes, there should be clarity on this, of course, and more transparent.
We don't have transparency as it should,
partly. You hint on it, but you don't face it.
Explain it, explain how it is.
I think explaining, as Mr. Abbas is saying, explaining it to the people, to the stakeholders, that we are we have a definite plan, that it will take us from that stage to better places, and it will take us that much of effort, that long of time, and so on. Of course, this helps a lot because you know where you stand and where you are heading to, and not just you as the financier, but also the society at large. This might be a little bit insufficient. The communication effort with the people on these efforts, and where should we go, and with what speed or what pace we should orchestrate our efforts, and so on. All these matters should be part of the decision-making process.
Yes,
of course.
It helps a lot. But we are not doing sufficiently on that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It must be more than that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also, look about the Egyptian investors who needs machines from abroad, who needs material for the industry. Why should I let those people goes in the black market to buy a dollar that they can bring it to the bank? Why does not the central bank arrange for those investors to transfer Egyptian pounds to them, and they can transfer foreign currency to abroad that they can buy their needs? And you can give them just trust. Okay, the central bank is helping us, so we have to help the country. But as I see and I feel, everybody working alone. The investor work and try to collect as much as he could dollars, because if he want to import any machines, the central bank of any bank will never help him. Maybe they allow him for 100,000 or 25,000. I don't know how much, but it is not good. We have to change it. We have to ask the responsible to help the investors, to help the industry. Just try to arrange something that they could put Egyptian pound and you can transfer foreign currency for their needs. Very simple. And therefore I said, close all the private account in foreign currency. Because the whole country is working in black market. The whole country. Everybody has a dollar account. Everybody.
Yeah, until this is done, I think yes. The Egyptian pound, the exchange rate of the Egyptian pound should be a realistic one, so that no one has the incentive to go outside the banking system.
So now we know, like, now what is the rate? Like, if I go outside, it's going to be different in the black market?
No. Right now, the difference is minimal, as we can expect in normal functioning markets.
Yeah.
Even abroad, you go and find small differences. But this might be because the central bank took drastic decisions in a short period of time, so they can expect this kind of stricter transactions where there is less incentive for holders of foreign exchange to go to the parallel market and so on. But after a while, things can develop again in the same way, as long as the problem is not temporary.
Yes.
It's re-happening.
Yes.
Or reoccurring. After some time, it pops up again, and you have to think of other ways, other ideas, and putting too much pressure, by the way, on the central bank and the banking system to cure something that's happening actually or stemming from the business or the production sectors. They are just managing the accounts of the balance of payment of the foreign exchange market and so on, but they are not responsible for pushing the people to invest wisely or in high value added products and so on. This has to come from different ministries, from the government at large, in coordination with the central bank. Of course, there is coordination council between the government and the central bank on this issue. We hope that this will show good results in the coming period.
Are they able to manage it correctly? That's the question that you said.
They need better communication
Yes.
among the
Which
different
we
departments of
didn't
the
have, for a long time,
government
and I don't know if
central
we have it as working in teams,
bank.
in
Yes, you
everything.
have to have better
But
communication.
with whom they will have the better communication? With the public?
Between the government, different departments in the government, and the central bank, so that the policies look consistent and we can see good results for the different efforts of the different government departments and the central bank.
We are in a modern world which everyone must do his job. Who must be the boss in the foreign exchange in Egypt? The government or the central bank?
I'm saying they should be. They are both. I see them both on the same boat.
No, I think that the central bank must be the boss of that. He is the one who's supposed to manage, because the government got to manage a lot of things in the country, but the central bank got to manage the foreign exchange and the financial.
Yes, for decisions. But before taking decisions, we have to collect the information.
Of course.
And this is what I mean by coordination between the government departments, different government departments, and the central bank. Yeah, coordination where we want to see ourselves, for example, within a certain period of time in industry, in agriculture, in energy, market, and so on, and what can the central bank and the banking system offer to the serious investors in these sectors, and back the policies, the decisions that are taken by the governments on this front. With huge resources available actually in Egyptian pounds, and the ability of the banking sector to secure a reasonable pool of the foreign exchange that is available to the country through sensible and realistic exchange rate policies and so on, then you can find that there is good coordination between what the governments need and from investors, and what the banks and the central bank as financiers to these potential investment projects can offer. We can have, in my opinion, we can have better outcome or better results with this coordination, and it's actually happening. And recently, the Coordination Council between the government and the central bank is being reactivated. It is there, and it was established some time ago, but was not active enough. Now its role has been reactivated exactly for this purpose, because also it has to do with public finance, partly public finance coming into the picture one way or the other.
Okay, I understand this perfectly, but we forgot one side which play a big part in the foreign exchange raising prices in Egypt, which is the exchange offices on the street. Nobody controls them. They could send someone from the central bank on the street to control how much dollars you get and how much you pay for it, but we are not gathering those people to be a part of the solution. And this is a dangerous side. This is a dangerous side, I think. Those people must be aware of everything going on in Egypt, and they must be managed. But in my opinion, the exchange offices, they are not managed by any central bank of any government. They do whatever they want. If they want to sell the dollar for 10 pounds or 11 pounds, they will. If they will buy it from you, they need to buy from you from 10 pounds, which the bank give you 8 pounds and then 70, they will, because they got enough money to collect all the dollars.
This is in Egypt, you mean, or outside Egypt?
No, in Egypt. I'm talking about Egypt. I'm not talking about outside Egypt.
Okay.
I'm talking about Egypt. Because we talk about the central bank and the government, but we neglect the foreign exchange
bureau
offices, which play a big part in the raising of the foreign currency in Egypt.
Partly because the exchange rate, they think for some time it is not realistic. So they find a niche in the market for them to exploit this mispricing of the pound, and they appeal to the savers, and the savers are responsive to these incentives by the foreign exchange bureaus for higher rates. But if the exchange rate policy or the exchange rate inside the banking system is realistic, is attractive enough for anyone to go to the bank instead of going to the foreign exchange bureau, I think this will limit the incentives on the part of the foreign exchange bureaus to speculate or fuel speculation on the foreign exchange market.
No, Dr. Actually, Professor Vikas, thank you very much for being with us. Unfortunately, we came to the end of the show. Dr. Zuhairi, thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure, thank you.
We'll just be talking more, hoping like we just do something, or the people in the authorities responsible for that just manage the whole thing correctly.
I just would like to, before we end, I just would like to add in half a minute. I think if the government and the central bank make a commission for the exchange offices in the street, legal one, they will help the government and the central bank to keep the balance of the exchange rate in Egypt.
Hopefully, and we go now to my colleague Naveen Abdurrahman with the latest in the stock market. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now. See you next week.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi made on Wednesday the first reshuffle in Sharif Ismail's cabinet, appointing 10 new ministers. The distinguished banker Amr al-Garhi was appointed as the new finance minister. Dalia Khorshid, the former group corporate treasurer at OCIMs, was appointed as the new minister of investment. The cabinet reshuffle also included the appointment of new ministers for transportation, justice, civil aviation, water resources and irrigation, business sector, antiquities, labor, and tourism. The Egyptian exchange collectively finished Thursday's trading session in the green zone, backed by the latest cabinet reshuffle. The benchmark added 52.75 points, or 0.70% to settle at 7,548.22 points. The small and mid-cap EGX 70 rose 0.5% to 367.03. The broader index EGX 100 increased by 0.32% to 792.24 points. And the equal weighted index EGX 50 closed higher 1.93% to 1,402.55 points. The total market value lost 42.96 billion Egyptian pounds. Trading value reached 1.03 billion Egyptian pounds after 444.7 million shares were traded. Moreover, the bourse saw 110 stocks move up, 43 go down, and 24 once stay at their previous levels. Traffic online data revealed that the Suez Canal gained a total of 6.3 billion Egyptian pounds in January and February. Around 3.2 billion revenues were collected for January 2016 compared with 3.1 billion for the year-ago month, while February's revenues reached 3.1 billion against 2.9 billion for February 2015. Earlier, Mohab Mamish, the chairman of the canal, said the authorities' revenues for February 2015 increased 5.1% year-over-year to reach 401.4 million Egyptian pounds from 381.9 billion. The Central Bank of Egypt sold 104.5 million US dollars to banks in a regular foreign exchange auction held earlier for 120 million on Tuesday. The cutoff price stayed unchanged at 8.78 Egyptian pounds per dollar. Earlier, the Bank of Egypt decided to reduce foreign currency auctions to a single regular auction on Tuesdays instead of 3. Automobile franchise big names have concurred that car prices will likely rise steeply as a result of the decision by the Central Bank of Egypt to devalue the Egyptian pound by 112 piastres against the US dollar. An official at another franchise for a German car maker who asked not to be named also said his company had suspended all car handover contracts until its board agrees on the amount of the price raise. He told the Shrew that he predicts the increase to stand at 15% for models worth more than 400,000 Egyptian pounds. Egypt's Minister of Supply said the world's top wheat buyer is close to eradicating graft in its strategic sector, defending the country's management of the system against criticisms that it's vulnerable to corruption. He said authorities distribute 6 billion loaves of bread to citizens each month and that a smart card system rolled out in 2014 had virtually ended graft in the system. Minister of Supply Dr. Khalid Hanafi repeated his assertions that the system has saved millions of dollars in bread subsidies, reducing imports and ended shortages that once prompted long queues outside bakeries across the country. The UK Consumer Price Index remained unchanged at 0.3% in February. Food prices, especially vegetables, saw the biggest rise while transport costs fell. The country's annual inflation was 0 last year, below the Bank of England 2% target for 2 years. Oil prices were down more than 3% after the U.S. government reported a crude built 3 times above analysts' expectations. The increase marked the 6th straight week of record-high inventories, rekindling worries of a glut that threatened to reserve a 2-month-long rally on the market. The U.S. Energy Information Administration said crude stockpiles rose 9.4 million barrels last week, not far from the 8.8 million built indicated by industry group American Petroleum Institute on Tuesday, but way off the 3.1 million barrels. Fed put any further increase in U.S. interest rates on hold on Wednesday, announcing rates will remain unchanged for at least another month. The potential hike was postponed after fears of a slowdown in China and collapsing oil prices have rattled investors worldwide. In its statement released at the end of its two-day March meeting, the Fed said that global economic and financial developments continue to pose risks and that inflation is expected to remain low in the near term, in part because of earlier declines in energy prices. European markets finished mixed after explosions rocked the Belgian capital of Brussels. The pan-European Stoxx 600 provisionally closed lower by 0.21% after paring some losses during the afternoon session. It was down as much as 1.6% in earlier trade. As a result, deadly explosions rocked Brussels on Tuesday, targeting the Belgian capital's main airport and metro system. Belgian officials said the bombings killed at least 31 people and injured nearly 270 others. Stoxx reacted negatively, with the number of names in the travel and leisure sector closing sharply lower. Single-family home sales rebounded in February, but the increase was concentrated in one region, which could suggest a loss of momentum in the housing market as the busy spring selling season kicks off. The Commerce Department said home sales rose 2% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 512,000 units. January's sales pace was revised up to 502,000 units from the previously reported 494,000. New single-family homes sales surged 38.5% in the West last month, but plunged 24.2% in the Northeast and tumbled 17.9% in the Midwest.